Today you'll learn about slope-intercept graphing, and go ahead and title your paper Slope-Intercept. Pause at any time that you need to get the information down. Let me remind you what slope means. Slope is rise over run. It's the change in the y-coordinates over the change in the x-coordinates. And remember, you can take your coordinates, so let's say you have two of these coordinates, and this is set 1 and this is set 2. You have xy here and xy here, 2 points on that line. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. And if the line slants to the left, it's going to be a negative slope. If it slants to the right, it's a positive slope. And let me remind you about intercepts. An intercept is where the line intersects the axis. So if you're talking about an x-intercept, you are talking about it intersecting the x-axis. If you're talking about a y-intercept, you're talking about it intersecting at the y-axis. Let's look how you can graph using slope-intercept. It's really, really easy. So go ahead and write this equation. Y equals mx plus b. That looks really strange. However, we know this is in function form because we have a y here and an x here. The y and the x are just the coordinates, so x and y on the line. So all the points on the line you can plug into that x and y. The m is the variable that represents slope. So whatever the slope of that line is, you can plug it in for m. The b represents the y-intercept. This is a constant, so that means it doesn't change. It's just a number without a variable. However, the slope changes. It shows how much it increases up and over each time. So now you have your equation, and we call this, it's in slope-intercept form or function form. And let's look at a few equations to see how we graph those. And I'm going to turn the page on my notes. You don't have to on yours. Alright, let me give you an example of an equation. So we have y equals 2x plus 3. First, let's identify all of our parts. So we know the x and y are my x and y coordinates, and those apply to all the points on the line. This value, remember, is my slope. So I'm going to say my m value, I'm going to write it above here, y equals mx plus b. My m value is a positive 2, and I need to make that a fraction because I need a rise over run. So I'm going to make a whole number a fraction by just putting a 1 under it. Still equals 2 because 2 divided by 1 is 2. And remember, this is our slope. So we already know it's going to be slanting to the right because it's positive. Now you have your b value. And our b value is a positive 3 because it has that plus sign in front of it. So we're going to put plus 3. And remember, this is our y-intercept. So if we were to write that as a coordinate, remember our y-intercept, you're going over 0 up 3 because it's on the y-axis. So let's go ahead and write a coordinate grid. So I have my coordinate grid. I'm going to put my line down like this, my x-axis, and I'm going to label my y-axis and my x-axis. So I want to look at this graph, this equation. So I have my slope and my y-intercept. You're going to the very first thing you need to do is put it into function form. And this is already in function form, so I'm done. Next thing I do is I plot my y-intercept. And what I mean by plot is I take that coordinate and I put a dot on it on the y-axis. So it's over 0 up 3. 1, 2, 3. And do a little dot there. Now I'm going to take my slope. Remember that slope is rise over run. And if you have a positive slope, you go up. If you have a negative slope, you go down. So, and you only apply the positive and the negative to one of your things. Just assume that these are positive. Unless you have a negative, you just apply it to the rise. So I'm going to start with my point 3 on the y-axis, and I'm going to rise because my slope is 2 over 1. I'm going to rise 2, 1, 2, and now I'm up here. Then I'm going to go run to the right 1. So I have my dot right there, my coordinate point. So I can keep going if I'd like, so up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1, I can keep going, but I already have enough points to make a nice line. So I'm going to go right through. A little hard on this screen, I apologize for that. So now I have my graph of a line. And that's how you graph using slope-intercept. Let's try another example. Let's try this one. Y equals negative 3x plus 2. So we're going to identify our parts. Remember the x and y are coordinates. Our m value is negative 3. That means the rise is a negative 3, so you'll be going down. And the run value is a 1 because I need to make it a fraction. And then my y-intercept, my b value, is positive 2 or 0, 2. So I'm going to plot it. Boop, boop, like this. I'm going to put extra lines on here because it's hard to see the grid on my on the graph paper on here. So remember, start with your y-intercept. So I'm going to go over 0, up 2, put a dot. Then I'm going to look at my slope. Remember, I'm going to rise, but I'm not really rising because it's a negative. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and run over 1. And I can keep going down 1, 2, 3, over 1. Just going to keep going. And there's my line. And then to double check it, you go, oh, is it a negative slope? It should be going to the left. Perfect. Let's try one more. So let's say it is like this. 2x minus 3y equals negative 9. So remember your steps. You need to put this in function form. So that means all the numbers and variables except for y go to the other side. So first we'll take away our 2x and take it away from this side. It cancels out. It leaves me with that negative 3y. Don't forget the negative there. And then I'm just going to stack these guys next to each other, negative 2x plus 9, because they're not like terms. Can't add them or subtract them yet until you know the value of x. Now, negative 3 is being multiplied, so I'm going to divide out my negative 3, like that. Cancel out my values. I have y, and when I mean cancel out, I'm really dividing negative 3 by negative 3, and that equals 1. So remember, they don't usually put a 1 in front. It's just assumed. Now I look at my integer rules. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. I can't divide 3 into 2 and get a whole number, so I'm going to leave it as a fraction, which is great for us because we have a rise over our run. A positive and a negative is a negative, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, let's graph it. So here's my y-axis, my x-axis. So I go down 3, because that's my y-intercept. I'll put that b equals negative 3 or 0, negative 3. And this one's my slope, 2 over 3, and it's positive, so you just go up 2 over 3. So from our point, 1, 2 over 3. Draw our line, and there's our graph. So that's the graph for y, 2x minus 3y equals negative 9. Have fun!